Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys. It's Thursday, November 29th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by Alex B. Smith. Andrew McGinnis should be along momentarily. Jimmy Murphy actually has fallen ill at the last second here. Actually mentioned it last night, so he probably is not going to be able to join us, which is a shame because, as most of you know by now, this is our final episode of the NHL Ice Guys. It is not. It was just there's a lot of programming changes that are going to be happening at SBR starting next week. There's a lot of old shows that were around that will not be around anymore, and a lot of new stuff that will be coming out on the horizon. And unfortunately, we're one of those old shows that will no longer be around after today, but it has been a great run. We'll talk more about, all of that at the end of the show, and we'll get into that in more detail. But I will tell you this right now, the last, 13 months that we've done this show, season and a bit, it's been a lot of fun. I've great colleagues. Being able to bring a hockey betting, a show solely about hockey betting, the last year and a bit has been a lot of fun. And we'll talk more about the plans for the future, changes, all that stuff at the end of the show. But before we get into all of that, we've got a hockey card to break down. It's business as usual on our final show. Yes, it's our final show for the Ice Guys here on the SBR platform. But we've got business to take care of, and that is breaking down this Thursday night NHL card. Let's bring in Alex B. Smith. Alex, it's our final show. A little melancholy feeling definitely in the pit of our stomach, but hey, we're going to go out with a bang and give you lots of great hockey betting information, as we always have right here on the Ice Guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, everything is finite, and like I said, we'll talk more at the end about what's gonna happen in the future of the Ice Guys. But like I said tonight, what a good way to wrap up the show, because we've got a great card to break down, some great games to talk about. So without further ado, let's get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lighter card, believe it or not, for a Thursday, but there's some good opportunities out there. Let's get to it. We've got the New York Islanders taking on the Boston Bruins. Top of the card, 51-52, the rotation numbers. Boston minus 165, home favorites, the total 6 shaded to the under. The Boston Bruins are outmanned. We know they've been battling injuries on the blue line all season long. It's been an issue for them. They've had to try to overcome it. They've had to try to get a bunch of young faces, inexperienced players to really toe the line on that blue line because of all the injuries. They've been without Patrice Bergeron as well for a period of time, no question. That's impacted this hockey team as well. But they continue to really, and I mean really, battle on a nightly basis. I mean, they're still no pushover. They're a tough out on a nightly basis. I mean, it really is amazing to me how many key defensemen, starting defensemen, have been out. Brandon Carlo, Big Z, Zdeno Chara, Kevin Miller out again after suffering an injury the other night in Toronto. Charlie McAvoy as well. And of course, Patrice Bergeron up front. Arguably the best two-way player in the sport, has been out now for quite some time for the Bruins. Yet every night they're right in the game. It's a one-goal game. It's a close hockey game. They have a chance to win it. They have won 2 of their last 3. They beat Montreal and Pittsburgh back-to-back games over the weekend. They played Toronto in their last game and really gave the Leafs everything they could handle, and a great battle. But Toronto ended up pulling it out in narrow fashion, 4-2 if you include the empty netter. But the Bruins' effort, despite all the injuries, despite all the manpower they've lost, especially on their blue line, it's been impressive. They're playing a lot tighter, lower scoring, tight checking, defensive-minded style of hockey, or at least they're trying to play that way with all these injuries, try to help their goalies out. We'll see if that can carry them through here in this game against the New York Islanders. Islanders obviously are a team that's, I think, made some decent strides this season under Barry Trotz. They're 12-9-1. Hey, I think the Islanders, if you ask them before the season, they're going to end up taking that record without a doubt. I mean, they've gotten off to a solid start. They've played better defensively. Leonard and Greiss, specifically Greiss of late's played really well in net for this team. I'll tell you what, Boston, with all the injuries, it's tough to lay this price with them. But every game I find the Bruins are playing hard. They're playing tough. They're not giving up as much at the back end with all the injuries that have taken hold of them. But to me, one of those games where I think the under's worth a look here in this game. The New York Islanders, I know it's been a little bit up and down with their defensive effort, but I think Boston really trying to clamp down. We've seen that in their last few games. They've had some low-scoring affairs. The Toronto game only went over the total on Tuesday night because of or Monday night, I should say, because of the empty net goal. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring game here. The under's the way I'd go in this game with the Islanders taking on the Bruins. Think we'll probably see a lower scoring hockey game. Boston trying to play tighter hockey and trying to help out their goalies because, again, you play a more compact defensive system is usually what a lot of coaches will do when you're dealing with this many injuries to starting defensemen on the blue line because you got so many young faces there. You've got Jeremy Lozon on this blue line, Connor Clifton, Vakanainen is a guy that's gotten some time as well on the blue line for the Bruins. You got just a Steven Kampfer. You got a bunch of youngsters in there now that are trying to make up ground for the injured defensemen. And what happens? They're inexperienced. So what do you do when they're inexperienced and you're worried about them? You try to play a little more compact. You don't maybe exchange chances or, go up and down the ice quite as much and rush opportunities. And the Bruins are really trying to play that way with all the injuries on defense. So that's meant a couple of unders lately, especially with this total being at 6. I mean, I think it's definitely worth a bet under the total here in this game, Islanders and Bruins tonight. Next up, we've got Minnesota taking on Columbus. The red-hot Blue Jackets just keep on getting the job done right now. They've played some fantastic hockey. Columbus minus 125 home favorites in this game. The total 5.5, shaded to the over about minus 120, minus 125 in this game. The Columbus Blue Jackets, again, playing very good hockey right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, coming off a 7-5 win against Detroit. No, John Tortorella wasn't happy with them giving up a big lead in that game, but they managed to hang on for the 7-5 win last time out against the Red Wings. The only games that they have lost were 4-2 in Toronto and 4-2 in Pittsburgh in their last little stretch of games. And the 4-2 Pittsburgh loss was Korpisalo, not Bobrovsky in that. So it has been a very, very solid run of hockey for this Columbus Blue Jackets team. We'll see if they can keep it going here against the Minnesota Wild, who are going to feel absolutely sick to their stomach with the way they lost the other night against the Arizona Coyotes at a 3-1 lead going into the third period. And next thing you know, it was just really in the blink of an eye. You snap your fingers, the lead was gone. 3-1 Minnesota quickly, and I mean quickly, became 4-3 Arizona, and the Coyotes end up winning that hockey game and 4-3, even though Minnesota, outshot Arizona 25-14. And now there was talk Dubnyk was feeling some about an illness going into that game, and he still started, and you wonder if that affected him because, again, it was not one of his better performances in net. Dubnyk maybe shouldn't have played at all, not feeling perhaps less than 100%. Going into that hockey game. We'll see who gets the starting assignment here for the Wild. But tell you what, this is minus 125 with this Red Hot Blue Jackets team. For me, that's a price that's hard to pass up. In my opinion, we know Minnesota at home's been good. Only 6-5 on the road. Actually, their road record was a little bit better in their last few road games. They played a little bit better, but still, it's a team that's got a lot of proving ground to me when they play away from XL Energy Center. So I'll lay the minus 125 here with Columbus. I thought this price might even come a little bit higher than it has. I'll go with the Jackets here to keep this great run going at about $1.25. And John Tortorella kind of, criticized his team even after the win against Detroit, saying, hey, we can't cough up a lead like that. We got to be more sturdy, play smarter, simpler hockey with the lead. So maybe those words are something that are received by the players, and you see that kind of effort and better type of performance when they have a lead, if they have a lead in this game tonight. So I'll go with Columbus in this game at about minus 125. Of course, with the Wild involved, as you've known, doing this show for over a year with Minnesota, oftentimes Alex B. Smith, but great opinions, being right close to the scene there in St. Paul. He's going to talk now about this Wild and Blue Jackets game. Alex, what do you like here?
What's interesting about these two teams playing is that whenever they meet up, usually they're obviously not in the same conference anymore. They're always one or the other or both are usually having a really good run as they meet up. There was a couple of years ago, I think this was it was like New Year's Eve. I want to say 2 seasons ago. The Wild had like a 14-game win streak. The Columbus had a 12-game win streak, and it was like a record of the amount of win streaks that had battled against one another. So, looking at Columbus going 8-3 the last 11 meetings with the Wild, it says that they're always getting a good effort from a Wild team, and they're putting up simply putting up a better effort, be it here in St. Paul or in Columbus. But the one thing I'm looking at here is, and we talked about it all at the beginning of the year, Columbus first period overs, as hot as they were, they've come back on a run now, 5-1 in their last 6 to the over in the first period, and Minnesota 7-3 to the over in the first period in their last 10. You said, looking at Dubnyk, he is going to start again, according to some reports that I've read that Boudreau said that that he would start once again. The reason that Stalock had missed a couple games or was questionable was that he had a loss in his family, but he was the backup, and he'll be the backup again tonight. But this is Dubnik's show. Dubnik has not fared that well this year against Eastern Conference opponents in 4 games. He is 0-2-1. He's got a save percentage below 90% there. So I think we're going to see some goals early. Like I said, we've seen the Wild get a little bit better on the road than we had seen in previous times. But you got to take that with a grain of salt because they were playing LA, Anaheim, San Jose. Some of those teams that were beating on the road were, teams that weren't up of quality like a Columbus here. But I think we will see at least a couple goals here. So I am going with the Wild and Blue Jackets first period over. Get 1.5 minus $1.15, $1.20.
Yeah, Alex has been really on top of these first period bets lately. He's been making a lot of them, and this is a hello, old friend. Columbus first period overs, right? Remember early in the season, man, those were automatic. I mean, those really cooled off quickly. I mean, you've seen Columbus lately playing a lot of first period unders, but the last few games, there's been some higher scoring first periods. We're saying hello to an old friend of ours, Columbus first period overs here tonight. Minnesota and Columbus. Alex liking the over there in the first period. Next up, we've got the New York Rangers, Ottawa Senators, Ottawa minus 115, minus 120, total 6.5, shaded to the over in this game. Look, I have been absolutely dogged and determined over the last several weeks in riding the Ottawa Senators over the total. They're the number 1 over team in hockey. Tremendous, 18-5 to the over this season. That's incredible. In 23 games, 18-5. It's hard to have a totals run of that magnitude, but the Ottawa Senators have managed to do that. How have they managed to do that? Well, their offense is a lot better than people think. I mean, Duchesne's had a good season. They still have Mark Stone, Bobby Ryan, guys, veterans that can score goals. You've got some of these youngsters that have found the ability to put the puck in the net. Thomas Chabot's been an offensive force from the blue line for this Ottawa team. That's part of it. They're scoring, but they're giving up goals. It's like a dam that's bursting, and they can't keep the water out. That is basically the Ottawa Senators' defense this season. They can't keep the puck out. They just can't. Their defensive positioning's bad. Their coverage in their own zone's bad. They give the puck away far too much. Their penalty kill's lousy, as we remember from the most famous Uber vehicle ride in sports back in Arizona when the players were criticizing the PK and the coaches for how poorly they were instituting the PK and instructing on it. So we know this Ottawa team can't defend either. And until further notice, I'm only looking at over with Ottawa games right now. For the first time, though, I'm feeling a little bit of trepidation betting this one over the total for one reason only. The New York Rangers have been pretty good defensively. The New York Rangers are not one of the higher scoring teams in the league by any stretch. These two teams did play an under on Monday night in New York, 4-2 against one another, and really that game shouldn't have even been that close to going over. It was 2-1 early in the third period, and I do believe we're going to get a goalie rematch of that game, Anderson and Lundqvist, and Lundqvist's been very good. Lundqvist's not a goalie I'm in any rush to bet over with, so I lean over, but I think for the first time, believe it or not, the first time, I think I might stay off an Ottawa over tonight. I'll probably come back the next game, especially if this one goes over in the end, or even if it doesn't, I might come back with it because maybe this stays under. We get some value the next game to come back with it. But the Rangers are not really that dead nuts over team. They're not. They really, really try to play a little. They've played better defensively. They're not one of the more potent offenses in the league. Lundqvist's played great. And again, we saw an under with these two teams in New York the other night. So again, I would only take the over in this game, but I'm a little bit more hesitant to do it for this matchup tonight. Alex B. Smith, you're on the Sens and Rangers. What do you like in this game here?
Yeah, we both, I think, were on that over when they last met a couple nights ago, and it was a really goofy game. 1-1 after 20, and it took them forever to get those first 2 goals. And then a scoreless second, and then New York turned it on. They ended up scoring 3 in that third period to wrap that game up. But looking at that, like I said, this Ottawa team, it's not so much that they're just giving up a bunch of goals in bunches, and they are, but they're also scoring them as well. And looking at the spot, 3 of the last 4 games, they've scored 4 goals. You go further back than that, they got 5 against Florida, 6 against Pittsburgh. We're getting a plus price here with the team total over at 3.5. I'm seeing a 3.5 plus 110. I think they should be able to get at least 3-4 goals, if not more, behind Lundqvist. Like, see, we've seen Lundqvist go up and down, and now the Rangers are kind of flip-flopping between Lundqvist and Georgiev with starts. So this is a game, like I said, I think this game could go under as a whole with that 6.5. That's a tough number, but I think we could see, 4 or 5 goals here from this Ottawa team. Like I said, they've been finding ways to score. And in that game that I talked about, the last meeting, I said there were a lot of posts, and that could have been a much higher scoring affair. So I think we more than likely will end up seeing that. Like I said, lean under. I think it probably will end up going over once again, but I'm going to look at the Ottawa team total over 3.5.
All right, so lean over, but stronger play. The official play for Alex here is the Ottawa team total to go over that 3.5 mark against the New York Rangers. Yeah, and there was a lot of posts. I think I heard some. I think there was about at least 4 or 5 posts actually in that game. Senators and Rangers on Monday night. It was crazy. I mean, again, this could go over the total for sure. I'll tell you what, definitely not betting Ottawa under right now. I mean, there's a team and that funny thing is they've gone through these little stretches throughout the season where Guy Boucher says, "Oh, we need to learn how to defend better. We've got to get better in our own zone." It just doesn't happen for this hockey team. It just doesn't. I mean, it's just the same issues. They still are having trouble even after the coach reprimands them. We got to get better defensively. He just hounds them about how poor their defensive zone play has been at times, and still, it's not resulting in any impactful or meaningful changes as to the way this team plays. And that's pretty much tells you that it's not a coaching issue; it's a personnel issue. It's not a great defensive type of team. It's not. It's not a team that has the personnel to defend at a high level. And really, that's been Ottawa. Really, I think since Mark Mathot left, that's really when this team went sideways defensively. That was a guy that was a stay-at-home defenseman. He was very good for them. Now, he's had his own issues, and staying healthy has been one of them. But, he was one of those guys that actually got the job done in his own zone, cleared the puck out when he got the chance, took the body, eliminated people from in front of the net, so they couldn't get loose pucks and rebounds. You don't see anybody on this Ottawa team doing that anymore, and it's a really big reason why their defensive play has really sputtered and scuffled and struggled to the extent that it has. Buffalo, Tampa Bay. This could be the game of the night here. 2 red-hot teams, 2 teams that are stunningly, in Buffalo's case, battling for first place here in the Atlantic Division. It's been so much fun to watch the Buffalo run. Tampa Bay minus 170, minus 175, 6 the total here in this game, shaded to the over. Before we get into the Sabres and Lightning, we've got Andrew McGinnis joining us now. We've already gone through the first 3 games of this Thursday card, so we'll welcome him in. We'll give him a chance to say hello, and if there's anything he has on the first 3 games, he can break it down for us right now. Andrew, good morning. Welcome to our final edition here of the Ice Guys, and anything you like from the first 3 games on this card today?
Yeah, good morning, guys. It's pretty early for this, but the power's been out from my house since like 3 a.m. So I'm trying to deal. I'm actually on a personal hotspot right now on my cell phone using my data for the last episode. So hopefully that holds up and we can get through this. First couple of games here. I know there's quite a bit of juice, and I don't really look to lay it too much. So I'm going to go with Boston on the puck line. As banged up as they've been, I still actually have liked the way they've progressed. Their blue lines look a lot better. They've actually closed the ice a lot, made it a lot smaller, and they've done a good job of getting pucks out. I mean, they're not really complicating things. They don't really rely on their decor to like move the puck up the ice too much, and but they just kind of get the puck out, let the forwards do their thing, and so I think the Boston on the puck line is actually a decent play for tonight. I'm going to fast forward. I like Columbus as far as that second game goes in the rotation order versus Minnesota. I like the way Columbus has been playing. I'm going to fast forward to that New York Rangers versus Ottawa game. And if I'm correct, that's the one you guys just talked about. Look, I'm going to say the same thing I said again, guys. I mean, times are changing. We're getting a 6.5 number once again for the total in that one. And I just think, once again, it's too high. You guys have heard me time and time again say that I think 6.5 is way too high of a total. And I try and convince myself how to take an under. And because we've seen, a lot of 7s with 6.5s, but these 2 teams right now, I'm telling you, their goal is both to try and become a better defensive team, try and take care of the puck on their own end, because as we know, this Ottawa team can score. They have no trouble scoring. They're just flat out embarrassing themselves early in games, going down early, finding themselves in deep holes. And eventually, as a good team, you can't get out of those holes all the time. So I think, once again, you've got Anderson, you've got Lundqvist tonight. This is kind of a revenge spot here because these 2 teams just played very recently. And, I know how many goals they're averaging per game, both of them. And I know that, Anderson and Lundqvist, as good of goalies as they are, they're still, letting in quite a few goals per game. But for me, 6.5 is far, far too high still. I think we could see that, 3-2 styled game in this one. And for me, that's cashing a ticket. So I'll take the under in Ottawa and New York.
Yeah, I for the first time, I'm not on Ottawa over. Believe it or not, I won't be on it. And I said that to Alex just a few minutes ago. I take it that Ottawa Philly got there the other night. But again, the Ottawa Rangers game the other night stayed under 4-2, and really it was 2-1 early in the third period. Now the counter argument to that, as Alex and I talked about, is there were like 4 posts in that game. It could have easily flew over the total as well, that Rangers Senators game on Monday. But the posts are your friends sometimes. And let's be honest, Lundqvist played very good this season. He's been pretty good. Anderson, was really good the last game he was in there when he faced all those shots as well. So against the Rangers, Mike McKenna was just an automatic overplay that other night, and it proved that way. And same with Stolars for the Flyers. I mean, that was as bad or as weak a goalie matchup as you'll see all season, and it proved that way in the Send Flyer game the other night. But yeah, you're going to have Lundqvist and Anderson in there. And again, 6.5. I think Ottawa now is going to finally being lined at 6.5 now moving forward, game in and game out. So I'm going to be a little bit more pick my spots with when to bet them over. And I would prefer a team that pushes pace, pushes tempo, is a little bit more offensively gifted than the New York Rangers to go over a total of 6.5 with here in that game. But let's get back to where we were on the schedule. It's Buffalo, Tampa Bay. Next up, this is probably the game of the night. Buffalo 10 wins in a row. People are going to say fortunate some of these games. Absolutely, they're fortunate. But you need a little luck, don't you? In the NHL, you need some puck luck. You need some good breaks to happen. But they're playing well, too. I don't want to – people are saying they're getting lucky. They're getting lucky because they're winning all these close games. They're coming from behind to win some of these games during this 10-game win streak. No, they're playing good hockey. They're getting saves from Carter Hutton. Carter Hutton now has given up, I believe, 2 goals or less now in 6 or 8 straight starts. He has been really good in net for the Sabres. Let's not forget that. Defensively, Rasmus Ristolainen with a beautiful goal the other night against San Jose. He's playing great. Rasmus Dahlin does not look like a rookie. He does not look like a first-year player on that blue line. He looks poised beyond belief, beyond his years. He's been excellent. That blue line as a whole, Jake McCabe's had a great season, an unsung hero on that Buffalo blue line. And, of course, up front, you got to talk about Jeff Skinner, who scores the game winner against San Jose the other night. He was awesome. He's been awesome for all season, especially during this win streak. Pominville's rejuvenated and revitalized. Remember, Pominville just completely disappeared for times in Minnesota, and now here he is in Buffalo, back with the Sabres, where he started his career. And he's playing great. He's on pace to have one of his best offensive seasons in years right now, Jason Pominville. Sam Reinhart, since they moved him up to the top line, things have been great. Eichel stayed healthy and been terrific all season. So the Sabres have a lot of things going for them right now. There's no question about that. Gosh, I'm so pissed off Tampa lost the other night to Anaheim, because the one thing I'm concerned about is Tampa off a loss, but I'm telling you this right now, that Tampa was off a loss the last time they played the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. They were off a loss, and they didn't win that game. And at this price range, I just in principle, with this team just dogged and determined, I believe, by the way, too, the Sabres, something like 6-2, 7-2 this season against teams with a winning record. They have stepped up in class, and they have played their best against the best, the Buffalo Sabres. There's no way I'm passing up taking plus 150 here with this hockey team, with the way they're playing right now. Tampa, let's be honest, it's still Louis Domingue in net for them. He's okay. He's serviceable. He's not number one goalie material. He's facing a red-hot team and a red-hot offense here. And again, Tampa was off a loss last time they played Buffalo. That didn't matter. Buffalo still beat them, and Domingue was in net that game in Buffalo. Buffalo's hot. They raise their game even more when they play good teams. They've beaten Winnipeg on the road. They've beaten some really, really good teams on the road, too, during this run. Give me Buffalo here, plus 150. And there is a big-time emphasis to win this game for the Sabres, not only because you're playing a great team, but this becomes the number one win streak in franchise history if they win tonight. They've never won 11 games in a row. That's at stake tonight for the Buffalo Sabres if they win this game. Buffalo plus the price for me. Lean over the total as well because I think Tampa is a good over team off a loss. They usually fire all the pucks at the net. They could add 4 or 5 goals against Anaheim. Again, the goaltending from Anaheim stole a game for them. What else is new there? I think Tampa's going to come out shooting a lot of pucks. Buffalo, I think, is going to get a few past Domingue. So I lean over the total as well, but I have to take Buffalo here at the plus price, especially with Domingue in there. I'd be less reluctant to do it with Vasilevsky in there, but Domingue, Buffalo can beat Tampa with even on the road with Domingue in there. They already did once this season. Yeah, Andrew suggested we can go through all the games on our own. Yeah, exactly. Even if you have even if you don't have a strong opinion on it, we'll let both of you have at it for the rest of the card here on our last show. Alex, you got any thoughts on Sabres Lightning?
Well, yeah, I said in the chat room, and this has got to be a record. I want to look back at this. I'll do this later on today of teams that have won, 9, 10 plus games in a row. I can't remember a team ever being plus 155 unless there was like a major injury involved, and we're not seeing that. Like you said, we're seeing almost probably going to see the exact same lineup from when these two played, a couple weeks ago. So the only way I'm looking at this would be Buffalo. If you choose to play Tampa Bay, I would probably have to look at the three-way line. I'm seeing one shop it's at a pick 'em price for the three-way line, but still 175 for the full price over. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Buffalo here. Like I said, that's a great value. And Louis Domingue is a guy that you can't just run him into the ground. If they do, Tampa's going to be in even more trouble. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be going to Sabres tonight.
Yeah, I mean, to me at this price, yeah, I got to look that way for sure. Andrew, any thoughts on this one, Buffalo T-Bay?
Yeah, guys, it's funny. Honestly, I've had a better read on totals these days than I have sides, and sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. I just got to go with what's been rolling for me, what's been working, and I think for this Tampa Bay Buffalo game, you just can't go wrong with taking the over. I think with these two teams, the way they're scoring right now, the way they're scoring late in games, I mean, we all know Tampa Bay, they're going to be up there every year in the scoring. They're averaging, close to 4 goals per game for a large part of the year. And this team, their depth is unbelievable. I mean, I think it goes the most underspoken about the fact that it's just, I think it's just a few snipers. I mean, this team has depth and can score down throughout their whole lineup, but the amount of times we've heard that famous Simpson Skinner joke from Ian, man, he's definitely making him proud because, wow, he's impressed me big time. This Buffalo team's really come out of nowhere this year, and they know how to score. They're not scared of those high-scoring games, and a lot of times you say, you see two top teams in a division or two top teams in a conference, you say maybe it'll be a tight game. Maybe they'll come out a little jolty, a little nervous, and try and take things easy, be conservative. I don't see that here tonight whatsoever. And I agree with what you were saying there, Alex. I mean, Louis Domingue, I mean, he's a decent goalie, but he's been decent when he came in as backup and stuff like that. But certain goalies, no matter who's out there, you can't get run into the ground. You can't get that many starts. And I think that as good as Tampa Bay's decor is, I feel like because they jump into the rush so much, it almost hurts them sometimes, and it kind of deflects back. It causes a lot of odd man rushes the other way and stuff like that. I mean, you guys see the way these guys shoot these days, the way the boards are. If you miss a shot wide, it could literally hit the boards and wrap all the way around and start an odd man rush the other way. It happens all the time now, and it happens all the time. I think it'll happen tonight as well. So these two teams both coming off really competitive games, and I think that. Although the under is trended between the two of them, I think this should be a really high scoring game. We're getting you can get like a plus 100 number at the under for this one, over 6. So I like it. I like quite a bit.
All right, you like the over quite a bit, says Andrew McGinnis, liking the over here. Sabres and Lightning in this game. Last year they played in Tampa. What was it, April 6th? The one meeting in Tampa. Yeah, it got over the total all right, 7-5, that final score between these two teams. Tampa won it, but I think Buffalo is live at this price. I mean, they've raised their game when they've played teams of this caliber, and that, I think, makes them live. I think they've got the better goalie right now, too, believe it or not. I actually would take Hutton right now over Domingue, but I do agree. I think Buffalo can win this game, but they're not shutting out Tampa. I think Tampa's going to find the back of the net, and I think Buffalo will find the back of the net, so I'm in agreement too. Buffalo and over for me in that game. Next up, we've got Chicago and Winnipeg. Winnipeg minus 210, total 6 across the board. What a complete and utter debacle defensively, one of many this season for the Chicago Blackhawks the other night against the Vegas Golden Knights. Just a pathetic loss, 8-3. To the Vegas Golden Knights. Really couldn't stop anybody. I could lace up my skates, put a stick in my hand, and they couldn't stop me from beating Corey Crawford at this point in time. The Chicago Blackhawks, piss poor defensive play. Jeremy Colliton referenced that at his press conference after the game. But the thing is, this has been a recurring theme. This has been something that has happened game in and game out for the Chicago team. It's like with Ottawa with Chicago. We're waiting. The coach says we got to play better defensively. We have to be more sturdy in our own zone. We don't see results of them getting better. for the most part. We're still waiting on that for Ottawa, and clearly we're still waiting on that for Chicago as well in this game. Winnipeg coming into this game off a loss to Pittsburgh the other night. Tough one for them. They had a lead going in the third period and let it slip. Pittsburgh comes back and wins that game against the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg's been a little up and down. The win-loss, win-loss, win-loss pattern lately. Winnipeg certainly should bounce back here against this feeble Chicago defense. Should be able to score goals. There's a lot of ways I could go in this game. The over for the full game makes some sense. The Winnipeg Jets team total over certainly makes some sense, although you're probably not going to get a bargain with that. But those are definitely some ways I can look at this game going. Winnipeg off a loss should be fired up at home. I know Chicago sometimes, bad teams don't necessarily fire you up, but losing the way they did against Pittsburgh, I think you get Winnipeg coming out pretty strong tonight. Another first period over potentially in this game as well, Winnipeg and Chicago. Maybe they jump on it early in this game, but to me, there's a bunch of ways. First period over, Jets team total over 6 for the full game. Take your pick. I'll probably go over 6 for the full game myself. But yeah, I definitely think Winnipeg has the chance to light the lamp early and often. That's all coach speak. That's all words. I'm not seeing much action when it comes to Colleton, the players of the Chicago team saying we have to be better defensively and more responsible. I've heard those words now for a couple of weeks, and I'm not seeing any changes in their performance defensively on the ice as of yet. Alex B. Smith, I know it's an exercise in futility and frustration watching the Blackhawks play hockey or try to on a nightly basis. But what do you think here with them going into the Peg to take on the Jets?
Yeah, I was able to cash a ticket with Vegas the other night. I didn't expect them to get absolutely destroyed like that. But like I said, this defense has just been a shit show for quite some time, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Henry Jokiharju, the draft pick rookie that came up, he's now listed, again, possibly questionable with an illness. So I don't know if there's a flu going around. That's only going to make things worse if that's the case in the locker room. But like I said, Winnipeg, I trust Winnipeg coming off of a tough loss to bounce back, after that game with Pittsburgh, than I do the Hawks turning it around after getting throttled by Vegas and now having to go on the road in hostile territory, division matchup where even if you look at the numbers, Chicago's won 11 of the last 15 meetings in Winnipeg. Obviously, this is not the same Chicago team that we've seen in those 15 previous meetings. And this is definitely a Winnipeg team that I trust a little bit more. So there's a couple of ways to go about this. You can play the puck line, but there's not really much value in that. You only get plus 130. The way I would actually go with it would be laying $140 on the three-way line, the regulation line. I could see this being, even if it's a 3-2 game, I think it's going to be a game where the puck possession, everything's going to be dominated most of the time by Winnipeg. So, like I said, either one of those would be worth it, but I'm going to lay the 140 on the three-way.
All right, looking at minus 140 regulation time for the Winnipeg Jets to get the job done. Andrew, you got any opinions here with the Blackhawks and Jets?
Yeah, I'll tell you guys one thing, and this I always find this hilarious. You guys know, out of every single sport, the discrepancy in standings and how much it mixes up every single year in the NHL. Every couple years, team that was winning the cup could be at the absolute bottom. You don't see that in the MLB with the Yankees. You don't see that with the Astros as well. You don't see it in the NBA with the Warriors, even the Celtics. The Lakers, they're not even that good now, but they're still always talked about. My point being in this one is that this Blackhawks team is absolutely abysmal. And I know it's going to hurt Alex to see all this stuff happen, but I don't feel bad for him at all because he got some cups recently, and my beloved Habs haven't. So I feel like I can say a little bit about his team. But I mean, the fact is, I had them the other day against Vegas. I took a shot with them, and they got absolutely embarrassed. And I'm not just saying this because I'm mad about my loss. I'm saying this because not only is their defense looking rough and is their goaltending looking rough, what happened to the goal production? What happened to that talent that they had offensively? What happened to all those guys that used to be able to come out on a nightly basis and perform? If you want to try and tell me that this team literally is not feeling down and sad and upset about how this team's going and the season's going, it's unbelievable. I mean, you can even see it on their faces. You can see it in the interviews. These guys look like they're pissed off. They look like they're upset. This is what can't happen to a hockey team. And especially, I don't know what you guys' stances are about Coach Q getting fired, but it's a perfect example of how a coach gets fired based off the performance of the players, that he can't do anything about it. The coach gets fired. Nothing has changed. What has changed really since Coach Q got fired. I mean, realistically, all the players are saying, "Oh, it's terrible to see." I got to be hard on Jonathan Toews. I mean, even he's the captain, even though he's still contributing a little bit. You got to spread the wealth. We got to find a way to get everybody else involved. I mean, I'm just pissed off. I mean, this top two line, Alex, I think that the top two lines for the Blackhawks are pretty solid. I think they have lots of talent, and they're still just struggling to get any kind of consistency whatsoever. And Alex made a really, really good point a couple episodes ago where he said about Seabrook and Keith, about how, they're so experienced, so vets. They shouldn't be logging the ice time they do, and shouldn't be sometimes having to even play together to try and spread it out. It's just tough to see. And I mean, to have Vegas, a team that's still averaging, one of the lowest amount of goals per season per game in the league, go out and put an 8 spot on them. It's just flat out embarrassing. Having said that, I come into this one and I think that this is one of those kind of games. I just have a feeling for Winnipeg where they just absolutely go off and just their entire roster just racks up several points. And I think this one's just going to be, I've been kind of labeling games like this, and this one's going to be, I think, the messiest game of the night as far as totals go. I think this one should be wild. I don't expect any defense in this one. We haven't really seen much defense in many Blackhawks games recently, but this Winnipeg team is just absolutely finding the back of the net with ease. They're competing in 8-4 games like in St. Louis, and they're also competing in 4-3 games like with Pittsburgh. So they're competing in all kinds of style of games, and I think that this one just has to go over. We'll see some production from Chicago. If we get 2 goals from Chicago, in my eyes, this one goes over the total of 6. I mean, I would look at team total for Winnipeg, and I would also look at the over in this one.
All right, looking at Jets team total and the over in this one. I mean, you look at last year, how many times, well, they play each other a lot, these two teams. You look at the recent meetings, you've had 5-3, 5-2, 5-1. You had a 2-1 in Chicago, 6-2, 6-2, 4-1. So a couple unders, but mostly overs. We're looking at 4-2 and 1 to the over the last 7 meetings between the Blackhawks and the Jets. So, and again, this Chicago team lately, it's just been a dog's breakfast for them with the defensive coverage. And that's not what you want to see playing Winnipeg. And you're seeing some of these top offenses really shred them as a result. Heck, Vegas isn't even close to a top offense. Look what they did the other night. So, yeah, definitely looking over the total myself in that game. Arizona, Nashville next up. No line on this game yet between these two teams. We've got Nashville off a loss to Colorado at home, and Arizona off that stunning comeback win in the third period against Minnesota. Arizona is another one of those teams that, hey, sometimes against teams that get their attention, they're a feisty team, no question. But Nashville, obviously, after the loss against Colorado, you think comes back here with a strong effort again. Arizona, to me, is always interesting consideration, getting a big price against a team of this magnitude. But I don't know. Against Nashville at home off a loss, Nashville rarely ever loses 2 in a row at home. They rarely lose 2 in a row, let alone 2 in a row at home. So it's a tough spot for me to trust Arizona. And even though they did have a nice comeback the other night against Minnesota. By the way, that Arizona-Chicago trade, I should mention, Dylan Strome was good in that first game for Chicago. Goal and an assist against the Golden Knights, a very positive start for him. Remember, this is a guy that underachieved in Arizona. It's a guy that's really had a slow start to his career for a guy that was a top first-round pick. Top 5 first-round pick years ago, selected right behind Mitch Marner. For this Arizona team. So, and that tells you the gap between the two. I mean, Strome struggled to get his career on track, and here's Mitch Marner. He's already practically a star in the league. So, that's the difference right there. And there were only one draft pick separating the two of those guys. But Strome had a really good first first performance for Chicago. Interesting to see how he plays for the Blackhawks moving forward. For Arizona, obviously, Nick Schmaltz going the other way. We'll see him tonight for the Coyotes, see how he does. But that's probably a game I'm going to end up staying out of. I know we have no side or total yet, but Alex, Andrew, you guys got any thoughts on this one with the Yotes and the Predators?
Well, like I said it the other day that I think it's a great trade with the Hawks and Coyotes. I think Nick Schmaltz he's a great energy guy. He's a guy when sometimes he's a little spotty with his faceoffs, but he can throw his body around, give some good energy. He can get in the right position at times and do some things offensively. He's got to work more on his consistency, but I think he's a good fit in that Arizona lineup. And obviously, yeah, the reason why we don't have a line on that is because I'm looking. It says Ronta was injured last game again, and I'm like, wow, the stroke of bad luck this guy has had. Now he's questionable, and Darcy Kemper was already on IR, so obviously they're going through a goaltending shuffle with this Arizona team. They don't have much depth in Tucson. I don't really trust any of those guys, Hill or Miska, that's down there. So it would be hard to look at, Arizona in any of the spots, especially against a Nashville team that tends to play better at home. So I'm definitely going to stay away from this game, but might want to take a lean and keep an eye out for the goaltending issue with Arizona as that transpires down the road.
Yeah, Ronta hasn't been the same since the injury for sure, and we'll see if he gets the call tonight in net for the Coyotes. Andrew, you got anything on this game?
Yeah, guys, I see a few odds here. Not a lot, but Bet365 has it out here at a massive minus 245 favorites for Nashville. You can get them at buck plus buck 120 for the puck line. And for me, I'm going to look at the total in this one, though. I mean, some spots like Bovada have it at a 6. Some spots like Betway and Bet365 can give you a 5.5 number. And for me, I think that combined with these two teams, as much as I've realistically classified Nashville as an under team this year, just recently, I've really been pissed off, really struggled to get some overs with this Nashville team. It seems to me they're very comfortable with those lower scoring styled games. We often talk about the Ekholms, the Yossis, the Ellises, the Subbans of the world. They're are so good at pushing that pace and jumping up into the rush, guys. But I've been impressed with their defensive abilities. They're all huge, very, very massive size defensemen that really take care of the front of the net. It makes the job very easy for Rene and for Saros, I think, and gives them lots of ability to see. That they're strong guys in front of the net. They move the puck out really well. And I just think in this one, you come off that loss that Arizona's coming off of, or sorry, that win, and you look at that past couple games before that where they've got absolutely blown out. What happened to the team that we saw and that Ian saw, that really just growing each game, getting better and better and better? So, maybe against this Nashville team, this is a good opportunity to spark your offense, because I think, especially if you can get a 5.5 and lay a little bit of the juice for the $1.25 number, I'll happily take that. It should be a fast-paced style game, I think, especially with some goaltending worries and some defensive issues with this Arizona team right now. I think Nashville makes them pay. So I'm going to look at the over in this one.
All right, looking at the over with the Arizona-Nashville 5.5, 6 split there. LA-Edmonton, we've got Edmonton minus 150, the total 5 shaded to the under, and this was the easiest pass on the board for me from my standpoint. There's no way I'm laying $1.50 with Edmonton. They're playing better. I mean, the energy's been pretty decent since Ken Hitchcock's been there, but barely scraping by Dallas in overtime the other night at home. They lost against Anaheim in overtime. They played a lot of close games. The overtime prop might be worth a look here in this game, believe it or not, Kings and Oilers. They played a lot of close games since Hitchcock's been there. 1-goal game against San Jose in overtime. Anaheim game went to overtime. Dallas game went to overtime. They've played a lot of close ones, this Edmonton team, and that might be something worth a look here. LA could have Jonathan Quick back. But here's my concern with Jonathan Quick making his first start. Rusty. These goalies, when they're out for such a long time, I find they struggle that first start. That could be a little bit of an issue here for Quick, although he's still, obviously they're happy to have him back. Cal Peterson, though, to be honest, did an okay job in his absence for the Kings, but obviously they're happy to have Quick back. But no, I don't want to take LA. LA has won a couple of games lately. They beat Edmonton. There's a revenge spot, too, for Edmonton. LA beat them in LA Sunday. And then LA beat Vancouver the other night in overtime. So, hey, 2 wins in a row for the red-hot LA Kings. Let's give them some credit here. They're putting some things together, the LA Kings. So,
red-hot.
Yeah, break up the LA Kings. Red hot. 2 big wins in a row. Amazing. I don't know. This team's definitely Stanley Cup bound now. But, I don't have anything on this game from a side or totals perspective. Alex, anything on this one, Kings and Oilers?
No, I mean, if I had to play it, I would go with LA strictly on the fact that Edmonton, once again, like I said the other night, they shouldn't be favored against anyone. They got lucky to win in overtime, a 1-0 game against Dallas, and they had a goal that was actually pulled off. It should have counted, and it was pulled off, and then got lucky about 20 seconds later, finally found the back of the net to get the 1-0 win. But both of these teams are really bad right now. Like I said, there's better options on the board completely past this one.
All right, Andrew, anything here?
These odds makers just crack me up, guys. It's hilarious. How is LA at one point laying like $1.80, $1.70 against some teams? Now all of a sudden they're starting to put some wins together and look decent now, and they're big underdogs. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Edmonton laying $1.45, like Alex said, $1.40. it's ridiculous. This team barely scraped together a win the past couple games, and they haven't been scoring whatsoever. With the talent that they have, I won't even get into it. The talent that they have, though, and that Dallas game going under the total as well, just a 1-goal game. I mean, if that's the way Edmonton's going to win, Ian, they'll take it. A 1-goal win, they'll take it. But to me, I got to look at this one. I got to say there's value on LA and there's value on the under. I think that's a smart play on this one. I think that the trends really set me up for that. As far as these two teams, 5 in a row in Edmonton between these two teams. The under is cashed, and we don't often do this, Ian. We've seen a lot of juice towards the over for first periods. How about the first period under 1.5 for -110? I like that one quite a bit. I think this one starts off pretty slow. And like you said, Quick might be back. I don't like to back teams when their goalie comes right back, but I do think they'll get off to a decent start. So under 1.5 goals in the first period, lean to LA, but more so just on the unders in this game.
Yeah, I mean, if Ken Hitchcock, as we know, has his way, he'd love a lot every game to be 2-1, 3-1, 3-2 win. That's Ken Hitchcock. And you can already see Edmonton focusing more on the defensive end, because basically when a guy like Ken Hitchcock ends up showing up behind your bench, you basically got to show that effort defensively, or else you're going to be in the Ken Hitchcock doghouse in a hurry. And that's what we're seeing from the Edmonton Oilers so far, first few games with Hitch behind the bench. We wrap it up. Our last game to break down here on the SBR NHL Ice Guys. Vegas taking on Vancouver. Vegas -155, -160. The total 6 shaded to the under. Vegas is starting to get hot right now. They've won 4 straight games now. They've dominated the opposition, I believe, to the tune of 19-5 in those 4 wins in a row that Vegas has had. They're starting to find their game now. Max Pacioretty's scoring. William Karlsson's starting to come to life. Marchessault, the big guns that you count on for offense for the Golden Knights. Alex Tuck's been great as of late, scoring goals for them. They're starting to percolate for this Golden Knights team, and after a slow start, you can find this team starting to get some mojo back. Now, has it been the toughest schedule? No, but they did beat Calgary at home. Calgary's a good hockey team. So this team, and Chicago obviously is not so much, and Vancouver is not the toughest team ever, but I don't want to step in Vegas's way right now. I think they're starting to put some things together. It's a big price. I don't want to lay it on the road either, but Vegas is starting to put some things together. Disappointing loss from Vancouver the other night at home against LA. They've got Brock Besser back, one of their top players offensively, but not able to find the back of the net against the Kings in that loss. So they're running into a red hot team right now. It might not be easy for the Canucks even at home, but not a game I'm involved with either way. Anything on this game, Alex? Vegas and Vancouver?
Yeah, I would look at Vegas minus $1.10 on the regulation line here. They've played Vancouver well, won 4 of the last 5 meetings. They said they won 4 of the last 5 or 5 of the last 6 rather overall. Like I said, they're just running hot right now. You had Fleury had back-to-back shutouts, and even the goals that he let up in that 8-3 blowout with Chicago. I mean, there were goals that just saves he wouldn't have been able, or anybody wouldn't have been able to make. So he's been sharp lately, and that's just as important as them getting their offense rolling. So I would look at Vegas here. I think they continue to find the back of the net here and get that offense rolling. So it's like I said, against a Vancouver team that's been struggling as of late.
Yeah, great point too in the chat by our friend Skooma Steve, who's been these are one of many viewers that we're going to miss when we're not doing this show anymore. Skooma Steve, and he said it right. Nate Schmidt, what a big boost to that Vegas blue line, and they have been a different team and a better team since he's been back. Andrew, anything on the Golden Knights and Canucks here?
Like I said before, I have to give lots of credit to this Vegas team. You kind of touched on what I was going to say, Ian, about the production from Marchessault, Karlsson, Tuck even. From my standpoint, I'm going to mention Pacioretty. Still got to see more out of him in my eyes, but this team's coming together. I mean, when you've got a goalie like Marc-Andre Fleury that keeps you in the game every single time you're out there, it's about time, about goddamn time that your offense steps up, says, hey, Fleury, we're here too. We'll put some goals in the net for you and give you a lead every now and then. So I like what Alex was saying. I think that even the regulation line here with Vegas is some good value. And it's funny, man. Like Vancouver looked good at one point. They looked like a team that could score consistently. And all of a sudden, the fountain of youth has kind of run out for this team. And their scoring production has kind of gone down a little bit. So if anyone knows NHL betting, trend betting isn't always the best way to go. But if you can catch that at the right time, it's not bad. When you got a Vegas team right now, it's scorching hot, finally finding a way to score. It's a good time to grab them, especially against a team like Vancouver. So maybe the regulation line could lower the odds a little bit, get you some good value. And they'll take care of things in regulation in my eyes.
All right, looking at Vegas regulation line as well. And for the final time on the SBR NHL Ice Guys, we wrap it up with best bets for this Thursday card. Alex, let's start with you. What do you got for best bet?
There we go. There's the audio. Well, yeah, like I said, last time with best bets, we're gonna roll with what we've been rolling with all of this season. Is probably the biggest trend that I've had in the 13 months of this show. We're gonna go with Columbus Blue Jackets first period over against Minnesota. Like I said, Wild 7-3 to the over in the last 10, and Columbus 5-1 in the first period over in their last 6. We should be able to see some goals scored. So, cheers to everybody. We got the proper 12 for the best bet here. Wild and Blue Jackets first period over 1.5 minus $1.20.
Absolutely. This is one of those rare mornings where drinking's allowed early in the day. We have to. It's a special day. I don't want to say it's a sad day. It's a celebratory day. We're celebrating a great run that we've had here on the SBR platform with this show. Sad to see it ending, but hey, we celebrate the good times we've had. I'm sure we'll have many more good times down the road. Andrew McGinnis, best bet for you.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the juice bar this morning. I'm gonna stay away from the alcohol. We're gonna head to the juice bar and try and ease the hangover a little bit. We're laying some juice with the Boston Bruins, but I'm comfortable with it. $1.45, $1.50. It's still in my range. I'm okay with. I think they flat out dominate this game. This team has proven that, first of all, their character level is way, way high right now. They went through a lot of injuries. They had a lot of guys that were out injured, and they still came through and played well during that period. And especially with Bergeron out, they've had a lot of guys step up at the center position. So I think that this team comes out, gets it done, puts up a good performance.
All right, Boston Bruins, best bet for Andrew McGinnis on the money line, about minus 150. And for me, my final best bet for the NHL Ice Guys, I'm going to do it anyway because they've won 10 in a row. Let's give try to cash a big underdog here to wrap it up for final best bet ever. Let's try to go out with a bang here, and we'll see if the Buffalo Sabres can deliver at plus 150 against the Tampa Bay Lightning and try to extend to an 11th straight win, which would be a franchise record. Buffalo plus 150 against Tampa Bay. My final NHL Ice Guys best bet, and that's going to wrap up, guys, our final show. Before we get off the air, for the final time, we got to express thanks first to SBR. I know, there's changes going on in the background, programming changes, decisions that have been made, and I know people are upset, and we're upset. It's disappointing that this show is coming to an end. We were all taken aback by it, all disappointed by it, angry, hurt, upset at the beginning, but we're moving on from it. We've got some things down the road that we're looking into to try to revive the Ice Guys show in the new year on other platforms. We're looking forward to hopefully doing that. What I will say, though, to SBR is thank you to them for giving me the opportunity to go ahead with this show over a year ago when I came to them with this idea to do a hockey betting show, the Ice Guys, that allowed me to pick the people I wanted to work with on this show. I picked Alex to be on this show, picked Andrew to be on this show, I picked Dana Lane to be on this show, and Jimmy Murphy, of course, joined the show this season with us as well. Thanks to them for allowing me at least to get this show off and running off the ground and be able to have it on the air for the last year and a bit. It's been a great run. We've had a lot of fun doing it. And guess what? This is not one of those things where, it's a crusade against the Ice Guys and it's a crusade against, the hockey guys. No, there's several changes that are going to be made here at the SBR with the programming, video programming aspect of it. So that's just the way it is. Changes always happen. You got to think of this almost like a television network. There's changes. No shows last forever. And that's including the case here with us here on SBR. But we thank all of you for watching from the bottom of our hearts, guys, really. 9 a.m. Eastern time is not the easiest time slot for you to get up, log onto your computer, and watch our show. I understand that. It's a weird time slot, but we thank you for your dedication, for your loyalty, for supporting the show for the last year plus. And we wouldn't have been able to do this show without you guys tuning in and supporting every single time. We'll miss the hell out of doing this show, but you haven't heard the last of the NHL Ice Guys. I can guarantee you that. Alex B. Smith and Andrew, let's get one last word from you before we wrap it up.
Yeah, like I said, thanks, thanks to you, Ian. Like I said, this is your baby. You are the captain of this show. I've said it time and time again. You brought all of us together and hold down the fort every episode. And so we thank you for that. And thanks to everybody who, like I said, to get up at the ass crack of dawn and to watch us talk about hockey and interact in the chat room and everything. It's amazing. Andrew, thank you. Getting to work with you for the first time, getting to work with Dana Lane, getting to work with Jimmy Murphy. This has been a real fun treat for me. And like I said, hopefully we can get back together and do this again in the future. But it's been a fun ride, and like I said, hope to continue it. And like I said, follow all of us on Twitter. We have our Twitter account, the Ice Guys SBR. That name will probably change soon. Follow me at AX Smith Sports. I'm giving away my whole package today free. I mentioned it on the show, but I'll have everything retweeted and reposted on my Twitter at AX Smith Sports. And just like I said, cheers to everybody for making this a really fun 13-month run.
Absolutely, Andrew. Any final thoughts and closing remarks?
Yeah, it's an interesting way to go out. My power's out and my laptop's dying, so not much time to say anything. But I think you guys have been very great the way that you've trying to close out the show. And I had a little video on Twitter yesterday saying how grateful I am. I think it's quickly just a good important thing to say. I'm grateful for SBR because it's unfortunate. It's disappointing this show's come to an end, but first of all, I've gotten the ability to work with you guys, you great people, great hockey fans and friends. I can now call all of you guys my friends, and it's been all of you guys in the chat that I've got to meet, talk to, talk hockey with. It's been great. So gotta love the community. First of all, everything else aside, guys, the community, gotta love it. Second of all, this definitely isn't the end of us. I mean, for all of you guys out there watching and you're bashing on SBR or you're bashing on the scheduling, like Ian said, it's nothing to do with us, Ice Guys, or hockey. A lot of networks are being changed. A lot of channels are being changed. A lot of, this kind of production on video content's being changed to SBR. So it has nothing to do with us at hockey. What you can do to help us, and this isn't even trying to be a promo, but if you want to see more hockey from us, check out our Twitters. Follow Ian on Twitter, follow Alex, follow myself. We'll still be doing stuff, whether it's Periscope, whether it's YouTube somewhere else, whether it's a different type of platform. We're still going to be talking hockey, especially in the new year. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved being on the show, talking hockey with you guys, being able to deliver some picks, and hopefully it's only just the start of what is to come with all of us. And once again, I don't think you guys can really understand how grateful I was for the opportunity to work with all of you guys, and I think we've all just grown. This show's gotten better and better each episode. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It absolutely has. And again, we're going to miss it, but hey, we're going to soldier on, and we're looking forward to what the future brings for sure. That's going to wrap it up, guys. Again, one last time, thank you for everything. Thank you to Alex B. Smith. Thank you to Andrew McGinnis, Jimmy Murphy, Dana Lane, the guys that have done this show in the past. Thank you very much for everything. We're out of here. The NHL Ice Guys, the final buzzer has sounded. The NHL Ice Guys season is over.